Howdy! So basically last time we picked up our beautiful bird, named him, and fixed the typo. Don't worry about it. Did our first official pull of the account, but through the gate 1. Level 10 and Arcanist. Hey, you want to talk about the rules? Let's talk about the rules. If it's possible in our current progression, we run it. At the moment, that's around Reborn. We roll for achievements using Google Jank and LOL achievements, Google Jank being a random number generator. We would be rolling category, subcategory, and the achievement itself. But there is some bad luck protection. If we roll something, say, Thaumaturge level 90, but we don't have level 10 yet, we just do level 10. No market board, because earning your own glam is cool. And no moving on to the next expansion until we get all the extreme trials, all of the Savage or equivalent raids, and the Alliance raids completed. Alright, we got a long road ahead of us, so click them source, because we're off to hit level 10 in Arcanist. Arcanists use geometry to do magic, and the power of math allows you to shoot lasers, so keep your eyes on your programmer girlfriend. Morrowwood saved the practice from dying out by allowing the nerds to teach other nerds, and it'd be real heartwarming, but we started as a level 1 himbo. Thurby seems to believe in us more than we do, however, and we promise we're prepared to reason. Off we go to take our first foray into multiplying pain and suffering. So let's go over our approach to leveling. If we have access to it, we're going to use it, even if it makes certain achievements a little harder along the way. But this early, that's just the hunting log anyway, so it's nothing too crazy. After we move a few small critters in a crater, it's back to Thurby, where she congratulates us and bid us return when we have our new plucky Lightright carbuncle, and we develop a deeper bond with them. I'm afraid she never read the patch notes, however, because he's just decorative at this point. Thurby asks if we've eaten before we begin, because for some reason the Arcanist profession attracts people with executive dysfunction. Couldn't guess why that is, but we're still stuffed on a dodo omelet we bought days ago. We're supposed to formulate complex theories on how to down our prey, but Ruin go bah! Thurby wants us to rifle through a prop box she left, because Arcanists apparently also do inventory. The boxes were filled with slugs, because deep down she knows that we aren't really much of a puzzle solver. We bump into a feral cat girl, and she's of the bookworm subtype, so our jugglers are safe for now. Raya crunches the numbers and runs simulations and finds us wanting. But she's willing to help. She was sent to do analysis for Thurby. Not wanting to get between a girl and her special interests, we happily inform her that her desire to outwit an enemy is what drives us in battle. That's a lie, but there's not been an ounce of courage in the story yet, and we just want to belong. Klahia is excited enough to buy our answer to formulate a hypothesis that we could become the next Arcanist of note, just like the guild's now missing in action guildmaster. Who knows? RNG is a cruel mistress. Having checked the box and not being used to guild members who don't actively want to kill us, we return to Thurby. She seems pleased the box is relatively gore-free, and it's the slime that gives the cargo extra grip. She informs us that Klahia would be delighted to continue our training and has kept the same grimoire since the very start. One wonders how she can handle packing around an entire thesaurus, but maybe some things are better left unanswered. Well, that's squared away. We have a brief interlude before level 10, so it's off to leave a few craters across Lenosia once more. After we feel sufficiently learned, we have enough doodles in our textbook to return back to Thurby for our last step before we roll again. She once again makes sure that we are staying healthy and free of blood clots, and it's honestly very sweet. She sends us out to kill roselings and jackals and insists we are far too advanced of a caster to keep flinging ruin. That would be true, because sometimes it's cherry-flavored and Fester exists. We scratch those off and return to teacher, and, as is tradition, that was simply pre-gaming. Thurby wants us to drop in Klahia and watch her work, as this would increase enjoyment of the story by about 0.25%. She would have us investigate whether it's a band of goblins that are dealing in illegal goods, and this is slander. Goblins can never do any wrong, and this is a harmful stereotype. Unfortunately, I'll need to swallow my outrage as we agree to narc for the greater good. Off to the cookpot, and hopefully we can clear up this little misunderstanding, but the boys make a terrible case for themselves, and it comes down to a light show anyway. Leah praises us once again, and as nice as it feels, we literally just got here. Secondhand experience seems to be a fascination of hers, so we inform her that we concentrate on covering our weaknesses, because why else would we have become an academic? After all is said and done, we are sent back as Klahia digs into her tome. Live your life, girl. It seems Kalia's lesson on knowing ourselves is normally only reserved for intermediate practitioners. I can't tell if she's a fangirl or just fascinated, but either way, the task is done. It's time for Nemia to spin her wheel and a new thread is chosen or whatever. So, up next, quests, job role quests, Tales of War. Well, surprised we haven't found Red Mage because the wheel demands a jack of all trades. The rules are the same here, ascending order. We won't be leveling every job to 30, but leveling all of them besides Lancer to 10. And as you can see, Rogue doesn't count for some reason. Not sure what that's all about, but I can only assume because it was released later. Getting started and going down the list. Let's start with Gladiator. Gladiator study hard at the art of the sword and board and become a legend in the Blood Sands. That sounds a little more up our alley, and our sense of self-preservation is slipping, so sign us up! We present ourselves before the first sword Mila, and we're more than happy to swear by the sword, even if it's a side fling with the spear. Getting fairly used to what we need to do next, it's off to reduce the local wildlife population in order to prove our worth. Mila seems pleased enough, and it isn't long until we're skilled enough to— oh, yo? We're not poaching? As it turns out, our next task is essentially to remove undesirables from Momodi's property. Almost forgot we were in Ul'dah. But at least it's a bunch of drunken marauders, so that's better than it could be. Seems a terrifying visage of someone who's picked up a sword for 5 minutes is too much for these lads to handle. It's time to tell their leader to beat it as well, but he isn't as enthused. Far be it from us to turn down a gentleman's game of fisticuffs. Before we are able to throw down, a friend shows up and beats his chest far better than Mika ever could. Turns out the man's name is Aldous, a feared gladiator turned adventurer. Once again, doesn't look like he wants to kill us. Maybe not every guild's the Lancers Guild. We report back to Mila, but it seems we need to get our hands dirty after all. The marauders from earlier are still harassing passerbys, and they've made the classic mistake of having a scuffle where there's no witnesses. Gladiators feeling a little less like entertainers and a bit more like cops, but we swallow that down and head back. Mila tells us we did a great job and pats our back, but we can offer nothing but a 1,000-yard stare and an eye twitch because it's killing time once again. Several creatures slap-chopped across the sands. It's back to Mila for our final gladiator quest for now. It so happens a group of foreign lancers have been sighted. At the same time, corpses have been found riddled with stab wounds, and it's up to us to head down to the stone's throw to see if we can stop another death before it's too late. We whistle innocently and nod because our hands are clean, but we fit the MO unsettlingly well. We swing back for backup and encounter another gladiator who is in fear for his life, but unfortunately lacks a gun. Luckily for him, we are oddly familiar with how lancers do combat. Despite the reach advantage, we take them down. Whoever these people are, they want our recent friend Aldous. Reporting back to Mila, we learn they've retreated to a tunnel near Blackrust Station and we're asked to finishing what we started and putting the rest of them down. Once again, no witnesses, you silly elves. We'll be teaming up with Bruce the Big, and that's easy to say, shorty. Weird we're expected to tank when he has more armor than us, but sure, we put them all to the sword with the help of our white mage and plate. There's a name for that, but whatever that word is, it isn't important now. Mila thinks it's finally a good idea to give us a shield, and what an honor that is, considering that's the sort of the entire flavor of the job. While we are handed her dinner plate of protections, she asks us for our opinion, and we mention that they mentioned Aldous. Might have struck a nerve there, and it's too awkward to stick around, so instead we scoot off to the Pugilists Guild. The Pugilists are a bunch of fist fighters, once again for the Blood Sands. Not sure why Sky desires the pit so badly, but their art is filtered through years and years of being passed down from a master of masters who created the definitive art of fist fighting, Cornelia. Resisting the urge to fan away the vapors, because strong women pretty, we hide our shame and resolve ourselves to go the distance. We get our horrors, murder, and it's back to Hamon halfway into anaphylactic shock because someone thought we should fight hornets with our hands. After we see the local alchemist for an EpiPen, Hamon would have us wander the city and collect scattered gil as fast as we can. There's no time limit, however, so a casual stroll will have to suffice. It seems this was simply a ruse for a little extra payday for Master Hamon, but considering we get our lessons for free, drink up, King. He next asks us to punch rocks, seemingly unaware that we won't get any blocks that way, but we do so anyway and kill the sleepy little guys within. First wasp wings, now multiple fractures, we let Hamon know our job is done. We met our friend Chichuto, who we can only assume is the youthful pugilist teacher to appeal to the youngins or whatever. She seems nice, would love to stay and talk, but we got a little more punching to do before we wrap up our stay here. We train off screen, definitely not because I forgot to record everyone's favorite part, but for the suspense of the audience. After training in the wilderness for over a year, Hamon celebrates her triumphant return by having us annihilate training dummies with a combo consisting of one button. Guess we're playing on modern. Realizing that maybe we should broaden our horizons, Hamon has us switch to classic so we can learn the time-honored light, medium, heavy. Not sure why we have to saunter up and bully quickerns to learn this, but a swift punch to 3 separate kidneys and we've learned what it means to be a street fighter. Hamon is impressed and sends him on a trip into the past as he remembers some of his exploits when he was younger. Let him cook. We're a bit of a past enjoyer ourselves. Before we leave, we learn that Chichuto's best friend Rurukuta had left the guild a long time ago without warning. They were taken in by Hamon and may as well be family. Such a quandary will be in the back of our minds for all of a moment or two before we realize we're in Limsa Laminza. Well, when in Rome. Marauders are an art derived from carpenters aboard pirate ships, still needing to fight and using their chosen profession's tools to do so. Over time, axes became very sought after for naval combat, but these days axe play is different entirely. Ready to learn the final piece of the Fire Emblem weapon triangle, we have a staring contest with Wernzoen. He loses, and this is just a taste of the carnage we are prepared to wreak. Handing us our axe, it's actually really interesting that all of the quests, the Marauder ones, has a clever subversion. Returning to Word Zone, our wanton slaughter has apparently impressed him, but man, we've been doing this ever since we stepped off the caravan. Our next lesson is to take full advantage of the force that one could exert with an axe, and frankly, if we cared about the math behind surface force, we'd go back to the Arcanist Guild. These people have not heard of a pickaxe, and we go to talk to Rotkeem to learn about the coveted boulder technique anyway. His advice amounts to hit it, and it couldn't be more simple than that. Covered in dust and pebbles, Word Zone informs us of our next opponent, crabs of unusual size. We've convinced Soulkib to pocket heal us because we're soft and vulnerable, and it's off to put our boulder-piercing abilities against crab shells. It has been some time since we've done some true heroics, so it's a breath of fresh air to hear that your grandson's in danger, Neddard. The crabs were bigger and more dangerous than anticipated, but luckily an ally shows up who's good at buffet Tetris. Saving Sigurd, we learn the boy's parents have already fallen before the local wildlife, and have you considered just getting a hit point stat, kid? Either way, it seems like a nice goal, so we swear vengeance on his behalf. Sufficiently hulked out from our latest hunt, we head back to Word Zone with maximum vein protrusion. The moving mountain we're after is named Kujata, and as the next part of our training, it's time to cleave some monkeys. Monkeys taken care of, we're back to Word Zone to see what else he wants from the local butcher. The answer to that is Plane Striders, as I fell into a memory of collecting beaks in a game I can't remember. Echo episode concluded, we stand triumphantly on their corpses, saving a man's cargo after Kajuta sneezed on it or something. Word Zone pledges that he will teach us everything he knows and hypes us up. This wouldn't be the first time this happened, but this might be the most bro moment of them all, so let's savor that as we head home to complete the remainder of our task. When we touch down, we head into the guild and receive our onboarding PowerPoint. The Archers Guilds are a fan of sustainable hunting and the culmination of Makote short bow hunting and Ellison longbow hunting. It's all very fascinating, but as a Viera, we know we do it better. Still, best not to be rude when we're so close to completing our mission, so we smile and nod, speaking to Guildmaster Lucianne. We assure her that we're about to dedicate ourselves to archery, and she even has the honesty to admit that our DPS will be mid. The customary slaughter completed, we return to inform her of the news, and she mentions that the other guild members won't coddle us. I guess it's only Gridania with the bitter rivals in the way of personal growth because they still believe bullying builds character around here. Our next task is to find targets around the city and shoot them, and I hope Lucianne gave us an open carry permit beforehand. Proving that we have the ability to open our eyes, we are sent to kill way too much wildlife. It's cute they have different levels and drive home the lesson, but it's ARR in 2023, so we hit Q really hard. Lucianne asked if practical application entered our thoughts as we fell our 16th target, but it was too hard to hear over the sound of Wii Shop channel music. Leah Lepo, a fellow student, assures we did a great job, minus being a little oblivious and honestly point taken. Silver shows up because we almost forgot it was high school hour in Keebler's kitchen, and he says that we're trash and bad. Lucianne says racism is bad, but in the same breath that it's simply a perspective, so there's a few mixed signals here. Oh well, her heart's in the right place, and we stop a few dozen of those before level 10. Returning to Lucianne with a better understanding of the strings, she hands us over to Lee to offer up today's lesson. Seems there were too many complaints about losing live arrows inside of a city, and we'll have to do that lesson once more with feeling, outside instead. Our warm-up completed, it seems the Conjurers and Wood Whalers are on holiday, so it's our job to depopulate the 12's Wood once again, and we offer a silent prayer for all the leeway we got for saving the Great Deku Tree because this is a natural abuse. We return to Lee and she congratulates us on a hunt well done. We assure her the smug expression is simply because we're finally done with this nonsense, but she isn't in the know, so we just will have to forgive her. Lucianne hardly gets a word in before Sever shows up, and we've dealt with his like before. Gets all wound up because we helped the Conjurers Guilds and Wood Whalers, and we're not a native here or Ellison, but it's quickly told to shut up by Lucianne. The next time we receive training, it will be from Sever, so let's make sure that is a long time from now. Well, with Tales of War at 1/3 completion, it's time to roll once more in Spinny Spin, Crafting and Gathering, Armor, Pounding Out the Dents, Apprentice. That is a lot of crafting, but thankfully criminal policy only means we have to do 50 1 to 10 crafts. And that's not so bad, the carpal tunnel will help our grip strength or something. The armorers and blacksmiths have a weird sort of rivalry, with both schools being derived from each other and eventually becoming their own thing. It would be great to say we took stand on the issue, but unfortunately our decisions don't and never mattered. Hananza will see us succeed or have us die trying, and Business Crafter a bronze ignorant. We ask a fellow student to pass us some tin because we don't want to be used as coke and nervously prevent our brick to her. For mercy, she seems impressed and informs us of the all too important fact that all works of art start with their basic materials. Bidding us to create so many bronze ingots, we simply can't think of anything else. She couldn't have said anything more agreeable. That was the plan in the first place, since we need to get this achievement over with anyway. Not a lot to say about this one. Sort of expected it to go longer than it did for some reason.
50 just seems like a bigger number than it is. Like, people swearing their childhood treats have shrunk, but your hands are just bigger, dude.
Honestly, Solly.
Oh yeah, sure, 3 hop ones, got it. Ananza stresses once again that the quality is everything, but once again we sail by with a C average and mediocre product. Bonanza does an awful job at hiding, she was once involved in combat, but we probably smell like blood and brimstone, so there's not much room to talk. It isn't long as we've finished our admittedly rather short task. Wouldn't mind getting a few more crafters, honestly. We still can't attach our own materia after all, and having access to better gear isn't exactly something to sneeze at. Feel like I'm jinxing us with this idle speculation, so might as well roll now. Character, Disciples of Magic. Okay. Good. The more you know 4. No, that isn't fair. We just escaped the MSQ. We won! For those unaware, to unlock Blue Mage, you have to complete ARR 2.0. Nimia has forsaken us. That's the only explanation for this. I don't want to condemn us to a Let's Play. Oh... Okay. I want to thank all of you for joining me on this brief taste of freedom, and while the world calls out for a hero, I hope you'll join me on the voyage ahead. So if you want to see the progress with the MSQ, again, you can catch me on Twitch. But of course I'll post edited content here, so if that's more your speed, you're welcome. See you all in Praetorium. I'll see you around.